Lost media is a topic that really interests me. The idea that there's media that existed at one point but for one reason or another has been completely lost to time is really interesting. This brings us to lost pilots, lost episodes of TV shows made to pitch shows to networks. What makes lost pilots interesting is that they are often quite different from the final show. Recently I made a full series retrospective on the Disney XD show Lab Rats, where I mentioned that there was a lost pilot called $1 Billion Freshman, and that I found a lot of info but didn't go in depth. Until now today I'll be going over all the info I've been able to find about this pilot, what I can confirm, what I can debunk, and how it can be found. This is $1 Billion Freshman. Lab Rats Lost Pilot. Starting with what I can confirm in a video called 5 Things You Didn't Know About Lab Rats, which is an interview with Billy Unger who played Chase and Kelly Berglund who played Bree. They mention the pilot, saying that Billy, Spencer Boldman who played Adam, and Tyrell Jackson Williams who played Leo were all in it, but Kelly and Al Sparks who played Donald weren't.
A lot of people may not know that there actually was a show before Lab Rats called $1 Billion Freshman that Billy, Spencer, and TJ were in. And Hal and I were not.
That's a good one.
And then they remade the show, added us, and it became Lab Rats.
Which lines up with Deadline's synopsis of the pilot in an article that was published on May 10, 2010. This article also reveals that the pilot was set to be directed by Mark Sandrofsky, a director best known for directing a majority of episodes of The Big Bang Theory, among episodes of many other sitcoms, including a few made by Disney. On the Wayback Machine, I found a site advertising auditions for the pilot from April 13, 2010 that includes addresses, a phone number, and the names of the casting directors, production companies, and producers, making it seem legitimate, though strangely there is no director listed, despite the Deadline article claiming that Mark Sandrofsky was set to direct. But like I said, this was from April, while the Deadline article was published in May, so it's possible they hadn't decided a director yet. The site says that shooting will start in June 2010, meaning it can be assumed that's when the pilot was filmed, and it gives a plot synopsis similar to the one from Deadline, saying that it's about brothers Ben and Adam, who are bionic military operatives that are scheduled to be demolished and replaced with upgraded versions, and upon hearing about this, escape. So, while Adam still had the same name, Chase was originally named Ben, and was likely changed once Bree was added to make their names alphabetical. It also means that instead of being created by Douglas, originally they were created by the government. The synopsis also reveals 2 more characters, Click and Amber, who would have helped Ben and Adam hide from the government, serving a similar role to Leo in the final show, and I assume that Click was played by Tyrell Jackson. Speaking of auditions, there are actually 2 audition tapes on YouTube of kids auditioning for the role of Click, both posted around the time auditions were announced. Both seem to be a scene where Click meets Ben and Adam. They name-drop a character named Agent O, who's apparently after Ben and Adam. We also see that Click would have been an inventor, a trait that wasn't carried over to Leo, though there's no mention of Amber. This line seems to imply that Adam and Chase or Ben were originally supposed to be robots as opposed to bionic humans.
He was built on a budget. Most of his parts are from a chop shop in Tijuana.
Which I guess is a possibility since both the description from Deadline and the audition ad didn't specify this. There's also this.
Sister Assyrian.
Hey, she's kind of sexy.
Ooh, glad she is.
De nada.
Nice.
You can also find some set photos on a couple different sites. One of them has Billy Unger, Spencer Boldman, Tyrell Jackson Williams, and another unknown actor in front of what appears to be a green screen, and I assume that's the director. There's also these photos of Billy and Spencer, with who knows. The most interesting one is this one, with Billy and Spencer with an unknown actor, who's labeled 3.0, suggesting that he's the third bionic kid. Supporting this is the fact that Billy is labeled 2.0, likely because he's the second. And that's all the info I can confirm. So, to recap, what we know about $1 Billion Freshman is: Bree and Davenport didn't exist yet. It was directed by Mark Sandrowski. It was shot in June 2010. Chase was originally named Ben. The lab rats were originally created by the government. The lab rats were helped with hiding from the government by two characters named Click, the original name for Leo, and Amber. There was a character named Agent O who was after the lab rats. Click was an inventor. The lab rats might have originally been robots. And there was a character named 3.0 who was presumably the third bionic kid. Then you have the stuff that can be debunked, the information that is online, but from unreliable sources. $1 Billion Freshman has an IMDb listing with a full cast listed. It has Spencer Boldman credited as Adam, and Billy Unger is also listed as they should be, but for some reason, Billy Unger is credited as Chase, even though we know that his name was originally Ben, and IMDb even says this in their description, except instead of Ben, they call Chase Brad, adding to the confusion. This description also straight up says that Adam and Ben are robots, which like I said is a possibility, but as I've shown, IMDb isn't a very reliable source. They also credit a mysterious actor by the name of Gil Elroy as a character named Wallace. When looking at his IMDb page, there is no picture for him, and his only other roles are as an uncredited extra in Big Time Rush and an extra in an episode of iCarly, where he's apparently credited as Gil Lopez. I guess Lopez is what the L stands for. When you check his bio, all it says is Gil Elroy is an actor known for iCarly and $1 Billion Freshman, and the only trivia for him is trademark Converse high tops, with Converse appearing to be a shoe brand that makes high top shoes, with no evidence that Gil Elroy is associated with them. When you Google Gil Elroy, all that comes up are listings of him on sites with little to no information. The one with the most info is Net Worth Post, which lists his net worth as $11 million, lists the same credits as IMDb, and also, like IMDb, lists Converse high tops as being a trademark, and actually has what are allegedly pictures of him. And then when you look up Gil Lopez, well, he doesn't come up at all. It looks like he might have Twitter, TikTok, and Facebook accounts, but my computer doesn't allow me to access these sites due to privacy errors, and I honestly don't feel like downloading them to my phone just to see if it's him. But even then, I highly doubt they are alleged Gil Elroy, because I honestly don't think that he actually exists. On top of the other inaccuracies, you have Tyrell Jackson Williams credited as Leo, even though we know that Leo's name was Click. Marcia Miller, another actor who doesn't seem to exist, and while both 3.0 and Agent O are listed, there's no Amber. I guess it's possible that sometime between auditions and filming, Click's name was changed to Leo and Amber was scrapped or had her name changed, but when you combine it with all the other misinformation, I think it's safe to say that IMDb is not a reliable source when it comes to information on this pilot. And for further proof that Gil Elroy doesn't exist, on the Lab Rats wiki, which seems to have been based off the IMDb listing or vice versa, personally I'm leaning towards the latter. It lists Hal Sparks as playing a character named Gil Elroy, which IMDb has the other way around, making me think it was a mistake. But still, the Lab Rats wiki can't be trusted, since we already know from that interview with Billy Unger and Kelly Berglund that Hal Sparks wasn't in it, and it still has all the other inaccuracies, with Ben being called Brad, Click being called Leo, the seemingly non-existent Marcia Miller, and no mention of Amber. Weirdly, the pilot doesn't have a page on the new Lost Media wiki, but the old one, and guess what, it also calls Ben Brad, and says Hal Sparks plays Gil Elroy, even though again, we know that he wasn't in it. The article has several sources listed, but only one of them is actually still up, being the Deadline article, while the other two are dead links. Upon looking them up on the Wayback Machine, one of them was archived, being a post from the science fiction blog Cybermage, while the Nick and More article wasn't. The blog post's sources are the audition ad I mentioned earlier, and the other is from a Disney fan site called Disney Dreaming and seems to be the source for Ben being called Brett and gives the description that just straight up says Adam and Ben are robots, which again is a possibility though I can't confirm it. This was posted on April 16, 2010, which makes me think this post's source is the casting ad, since the earliest archive of that ad is from April 13, only 3 days before, and the person who wrote it called Ben Brad by accident, and interpreted its description as Ben and Adam being robots.
It is very unlikely for Disney to release the pilot, considering how different it is from the final show, and that Lab Rats is somewhat forgotten nowadays. So, our best bet would be contacting one of the creators to see if they have a copy and if so, if they can release it. Both of them are on Twitter, but even if they do have a copy, who knows if Disney would allow them to release it anyways. I'm the Cartoon Koala and see you in the next video.